This is one of my favorite philosophical quotes, and it goes, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This is something that I try to keep in mind whenever I am faced with a difficult situation. I think I was watching some news footage of a plane crash or something, and then all of a sudden, I started freaking out about what if the pilot makes a mistake? What if they lose control of the plane? What if I die? Now, at the time, I didn't know much about anxiety or panic attacks, so I just started hyperventilating and trying to convince myself that everything was going to be okay. We always want what we haven't got, and we always fear what we might lose. For example, take being in a relationship. Would you rather be with someone who checks all of your boxes, but you feel like you're ready to move on to the next chapter of your life? Or would you rather be alone, even though you know that you'll be happier in a relationship? Or take your career. Would you rather stay in a job that's comfortable but unfulfilling? Or would you rather quit and start a new job where you're unsure of the outcome? Because most of the time we're not. We just want to escape from our problems. If you're someone who's constantly running away from your problems, you're never going to solve them. You're just going to keep running. But most people are not willing to put in the work. They just want the end result. They want to be rich and famous and successful without having to make any sacrifices. You can't want the success without being willing to put in the work. Maybe you've felt this way before starting a new job, moving to a new city, or beginning a new relationship. There's this feeling of excitement and anticipation that comes with the unknown. But then once you start the new thing, the excitement starts to fade away and you start to feel anxious and overwhelmed. And the sooner you realize this, the better off you'll be. Don't waste your time daydreaming about success. Instead, focus on taking small steps towards your goals each and every day. And that's what you should focus on. The next time you're faced with something new, remind yourself that it's okay to be uncertain. It's okay to be afraid. But don't let those feelings control you. Just focus on doing your best and let the chips fall where they may. Because in the end, that's all you can do. That's how you're going to achieve success, not by daydreaming about it. The funny thing is that we're willing to make sacrifices in our imaginary world. In our minds, we can envision ourselves working hard and making the necessary sacrifices to achieve our goals. You don't know what to expect or how things are going to play out. But this uncertainty is what causes us to feel anxious. We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of failing. And we're afraid of what other people think. So instead of facing this uncertainty head on, we try to avoid it. We try to make plans and set expectations. We try to control the uncontrollable. But when it comes time to actually make those sacrifices in the real world, we're not willing to pay the price. Of course, I was sitting right next to the window, so I decided to put my head down and close my eyes to try to calm myself down a bit. We want to be rich and famous and have the perfect family. But the truth is that success doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication. You can't just wake up one day and decide to become an influencer. It takes years of building an audience and creating content. You can't just wake up one day and decide to become a millionaire. It takes years of saving money and investing. You can't just wake up one day and decide to find the love of your life. It takes years of putting yourself out there and meeting new people. Even when change is a good thing, we still fight against it because we're scared of the unknown. If you're someone who's always feeling ready for a promotion or a raise at work, chances are you are not going to get it because you are not showing the company that you are ready. You want to publish a book and become the next Stephen King. Well, that's great, but you need to be willing to put in the work. You need to be willing to sit down and write every day. You need to be willing to revise and edit your work. And you need to be willing to submit your work to agents and publishers. But most people are not willing to do this. They just want to be writers without having to do the work. They just want the end result. You're showing them that you're content with where you are. If you're someone who's always feeling ready to move on from a relationship, chances are that relationship is gonna not last forever. Because you are not demonstrating to your partner that you are ready to commit. Instead, you're showing them that you're always looking for the exit. But then I started imagining all these worst-case scenarios playing out behind my eyelids. If you were hiring someone for a job, would you hire someone who's just coasting along and not really trying to improve? They're always rushing into things without taking the time to get to know someone first. They're always looking for the next fix without really investing in the current relationship. These people are never ready for a relationship. They're just looking for a distraction. Take a look at someone who's always quitting their job. They're always looking for the next best thing without really trying to make the most of the current situation. They're always looking for greener grass without really watering the grass they're currently standing on. These people are never ready for a job. They're just looking for a quick fix. Or would you hire someone who's constantly striving to learn new skills and take on more responsibility? Most people think that they're always ready to move on to the next stage of their lives. But trust me when I say that this couldn't be further from the truth. People who are always ready are the ones who are content with where they are in life. And this contentment can be seen in everything that they do. So I ended up having an absolute meltdown right there on the plane. Because more often than not, we tend to make things way worse in our heads than they actually are. There was this one time when I had a pretty bad panic attack while I was flying back from LA to New York. Luckily, the flight attendant came over and she asked me if I was all right, and then she brought me some water. When I calmed down a little bit, I explained to her what was happening. Sometimes you need to worry. Sometimes there's danger lurking around every corner, and sometimes you do need to take precautions. But most of the time we have a tendency to catastrophize and imagine all sorts of scenarios. That will never happen. We worry about things like, what if I failed? Or what if I get hurt? Or what if someone rejects me? But the truth is that most of these worries are just a waste of time, and they only cause us unnecessary stress and anxiety. And she told me that she had to get back to work, but that if I needed anything else to let her know. After she left, I felt really embarrassed and ashamed for making such a big deal out of nothing. But then I remembered this quote from Seneca: "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Because at the end of the day, I wasn't actually in any danger. The pilot wasn't going to make a mistake. I wasn't going to die. I was just overthinking everything and letting my imagination run wild. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't worry ever or that you should just ignore your intuition. So today I want to talk about why you never feel ready and why that's a good thing. As humans, we have a natural resistance to change. Think about it. Take a look at someone who's always getting into relationships. So the next time you find yourself thinking, I'm ready for a change, ask yourself, am I really ready? We love to imagine ourselves as these high-achieving, super successful people. And the journey to success is rarely smooth. There will be setbacks and obstacles along the way. For example, let's say that you want to become a writer. Here's the thing, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Have you ever noticed how people seem to be the happiest right before they start something new? When you're about to start something new, you're faced with a lot of uncertainty. But here's the thing, you can't control everything. In fact, you can't control anything. All you can do is your best. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out some other videos. Thanks for watching.